Returning to our ancestral roots. Greetings, all my relations. In Cree, we would say, how is your energy today? Ki mio ananche? And you would answer, I'm actually flowing. Ni mio ananya? I'm fine. If you were a member of the Blackfoot tribe, your greeting would be, how are your connections? Cool, huh? If you were Ubuntu in Central and Southern Africa, your greeting would be, I am because you are. You are because I am. Today, let's talk about AI. If I asked you what AI refers to, you would all respond, have you ever heard of the other AI? Animate intelligence. The word animate comes from the Latin word anima, which refers to spirit, soul, or life force. Animism qualifies as the great or world religion instead of Buddhism, Christianity, Hinduism, Islam, or Judaism. It is the oldest religion of humanity. It dates at least as far back as the Neanderthals, some 60,000 to 80,000 years ago. Animism challenges conceptual dualities like object, subject, thing, person, inanimate, animate. Elemental principles of animism are evident in the interrelationships and interdependencies within environmental systems. Quoting Leslie Sponzel in his book, Spiritual Ecology, A Quiet Revolution, quote, animism may be an elemental manifestation of nature, unquote. The assumption of animate intelligence is that the entire universe is alive and purposive, that we are nature, that part of us is yearning to unfold, to know itself, that part of us wants to be, to become, and to belong, that part of us wants to return to a profound sense of connection to the natural world. This return is not an intellectual journey. According to eco-evangelist Thomas Berry, quote, we must invent or reinvent a sustainable human by a descent into our pre-rational, our instinctive integrity. What is needed is not transcendence, but inscendence, not the brain, but the gene, unquote. Inscendence means that we are life intersecting with itself, waiting to be voiced, to be storied, vibrating almost urgently with a cellular persistence to return to our ancestral roots, having been housed in the earth, air, water, and fire. We are earth. We are embedded within the cycles of the living earth and on the cusp of a new story that senses our symbiotic relationship with the living earth, with Turtle Island. Noted author Charles Eisenstein says, quote, the fundamental precept of the new story is that we are all inseparate from the universe, and our being partakes in the being of everyone and everything else, unquote. We are air. Metabolic transformations are continually taking place when we breathe in oxygen, nitrogen, and approximately 1% of argon. Now, argon is an inert gas, that enters our passageways and then exits to travel around the planet, circling around over and over, so that we are inhaling and exhaling the air of our ancestors and all other beings who ever lived on this planet. We are water. Our physical being is composed of 70% water, and we are alive because of water. It embodies the Earth's vascular systems evaporated from rains of the prairie grasslands, from the canopies of the rainforests, and from the oceans of the world. We are so interconnected with water, we shape and give bodily form to the waters within us, providing, as David Suzuki poetically states, quote, a way for the water molecules to talk to one another. We need fire. It gives light and warmth to the body and the spirit. 3 of my students from our tribal college died within 1 semester. This was devastating to me as their teacher. In the pitch dark of night, we gathered around a spirit fire. When mourning the passage of a relative or friend, a spirit fire comforts us. It slowly burns away our sorrows. The dancing flame shifts the shadows within us, retaining a numinous connection to those who have passed. As we freely participate in the benefits of earth, air, water, and fire, unaware of the complex interactions and exchanges going on, David Peat, in his book entitled Blackfoot Physics, states, quote, all that exists is an expression of relationships, alliances, and balances, what, for lack of better words, we could call energies, powers, or spirits, unquote. Today, I want to share with you a very personal ceremonial event that underscored for me the importance of relationships, alliances, and balances within our living planet and the cosmos. In June 1996, I attended my first Sundance in Mission, South Dakota. I was going to be a gopher. I would be cleaning latrines, picking up camp litter, carrying water for the dancers, and preparing sandwiches for the other camp helpers. The first morning and every morning thereafter, we were greeted with a sunrise song. The singer transported us to another realm, reminding me that songs come to us from another world. They have their own existence and power, singing the singer, creating balance, so all things act as they should. The sunrise was magnificent. The rolling hills had an ethereal beauty with fog shrouding the landscape. The air was crisp with a chill, and the camp was prayerful and somewhat solemn. The crackling fires of the inipi, the sweat, the drumming and the singing created a comforting and enveloping ambiance. I distinctly remember the dancers clearing their throats, and I felt their excitement and nervousness. Trees define the space for the Sundance ceremony, known to the Lakota as the sun-gazing dance. Branches are woven, forming a roof to provide shade for friends and relatives supporting the dancers. Trees are used to make a fenced arbor with 4 doorways, representing the 4 cardinal directions of the universe, each an entryway to a deeper sense of our connection to the cosmos. Before the ceremony, community members and Sundance participants followed the medicine man to a grove of trees where one would be chosen to represent the cosmic axis. On this momentous afternoon, the medicine man gently struck different trees 4 times. awaiting their response. A small tree, slim in stature, consented, and it was cut down with an axe and carried, without touching the ground, to the center of the ceremonial arbor. Much to my surprise, I was beckoned to go over to tie prayer flags on the ceremonial tree. I was somewhat uneasy about it, but I walked over to the tree, knelt, and began tying red, yellow, white, and black flags onto the branches. The different colors symbolized the 4 races of people. Just outside the arbor, a small crowd of men and women were quietly chatting and laughing. I gazed up at the bright blue sky. I noticed 4 eagles flying in a perfect circle overhead. They continued circling over me, and I was completely transfixed. And I asked myself, am I imagining this? After I tied the prayer flags, the tree was placed upright in the center of the arbor. It symbolized the cosmic axis. In addition to the prayer flags, the tree was decorated with red prayer ties, 1 inch square with tobacco in the middle, that were wound around the tree trunk. These ties were symbolic of the prayers or intentions of the people. Thinking I was only going to be a gopher, a helper, I had packed my grubby clothes, cropped pants, and t-shirts. I was dancing on the sidelines, trying my best to be inconspicuous. I noticed the head medicine man striding across the arbor, and to my shock and dismay, he stopped in front of me. And he asked if I understood the sun dance. Yeah, I think so. He asked if I would be white buffalo calf woman in the ceremony. I would be representing the archetype of life giver and the woman who brought the sacred ceremonies to the Lakota people. I would be responsible for holding the sacred pipe, following ceremonial protocol when giving the sacred pipe to the next person next to me, and then smoking the pipe with the medicine men and the singers. After inwardly fainting, I told him that I did not think I was ready for that. Nor did I have the proper ceremonial regalia. Typically, white buffalo calf woman would be dressed in a full-length, simple white dress or a full-length beaded buckskin dress. He told me not to worry. I thanked him for this incredible honor and agreed to be white buffalo calf woman. So, white buffalo calf woman in this instance didn't wear ceremonial regalia, hadn't smoked a ceremonial pipe before, didn't bathe for days, was still cleaning latrines, continued wearing baggy t-shirts and baggy cropped pants. The important lesson here that the medicine man was teaching me is the dress is a symbol. Do not get stuck on the symbol. I vividly remember the dancers moving ever more slowly in the hot sun. On the 3rd or 4th day, the dancers are ready to be pierced and then connected to the cosmic tree until they penetrate the veil of separation by entering into an altered state of consciousness. Then they tear away from the tree, no longer needing a physical symbol outside themselves. The scars on their chests are a daily reminder that they embody the cosmic axis. As I reflect on the Sundance, I admit I was completely blown away by the eagles. Over the years, thanks in part to the eagles, I have become more and more convinced that all the beings on our living planet can communicate with each other. and learn so much from one another, a reminder of the immediacy of nature within each of us. Holding the sacred pipe as White Buffalo Calf Woman was powerful. The holders of the pipe are the fifth direction, the completion where beginnings and endings meet. A potent reminder that we are symbolically the sacred pipe. We are the bowl, the womb, giving birth. We are the stem, our axial center balanced within cosmic energies. Like the sweet grass smoke coming from the bowl of the pipe, we are both visible and invisible, integral to the air and all the elements. One of the primary lessons of the Sundance is that we must consciously create a thriving ecosphere and ethnosphere. However, we must first heal from our violent and traumatic past that has led to three major divides: an ecological divide, a social divide, and a spiritual divide. First, our ecological divide stems from a disconnection of self to nature. This disconnection or separation of self to nature has brought us to our present ecological crisis and to the brink of the sixth great extinction. We are in the red zone for chemical pollution, ocean acidification, particle pollution of the atmosphere, climate crisis, biodiversity loss, and so on and so on. A dramatic shift in our worldview is needed. Until we get to the root of our image of separateness, there can be no healing. And the deepest part of our separateness from creation lies in our forgetfulness of the sacred nature, which is also our own sacred nature. Second, our social divide has created a disconnect of self to other. This disconnect of self to other justified colonizing and silencing the voice of the native people, my ancestors. This egregious loss of the rights of native people and anyone affects the rights of all, creating collective trauma shared by all of us. According to scholar and teacher Thomas Ubel, who specializes in collective trauma, quote, "The cumulative effects of personal, familial, and historical traumas seep across communities, regions, lands, and nations, and unresolved systemic multi-generational traumas delay the development of the human family, harm the natural world, and inhibit the evolution of our species," unquote. Third, our spiritual divide. Our spiritual divide creates a disconnect of self to self. I think this divide of self to self is the most painful. It connotes a life without purpose and meaning. It is a life without soul. We live in a story of separation and disconnection, not knowing the roots of our identity. When we understand the fullness of who we are, we create a ripple effect, with space to embrace a future with new vistas, open to new beginnings, to new perceptions, embracing new scientific paradigms that affirm the universe is intelligent, purposive, and whole. As we explore the implications of the other AI, we reiterate the testimony of Czechoslovakian Václav Havel. Quote, "What could change the direction of today's civilization? It is my deep conviction that the only option is a change in the sphere of the spirit. in the sphere of the human conscience. It's not enough to invent new machines, new regulations, new institutions. We must develop a new understanding of the true purpose of our existence on the earth. Only by making a fundamental shift will we be able to create new models of behavior and a new set of values for the planet. I end with an excerpt of a poem that encapsulates what we talked about today. Shaped, sifted, and woven in earth colors, I am my ancestors. Of legs and no legs, of wings and no wings, I am because it is we who walk, crawl, swim, or fly. We are inscribed within earth, air, and water. We are the fire that is beginning to stand, right? In Cree we say, "Is go tel kamash opikik." We are the fire that is beginning to stand. Thank you. Ketoteyin.